A live streaming system suddenly enters the world of navigation, revealing the past and future videos. Albert travels through time and, holding two major systems in his hands, decides to direct some different plots. Vivi, holding a cross blade in her hand, stood firmly behind the last emperor Azir of Shurima. As a princess of the Shurima royal family, it is our duty to recast the glory of Shurima. Delaeus drove Auntie out of the world with the Legion of Trifarians. Kings have forced you to kneel with hereditary power and false names. Knoxas wants you to stand up and be reborn in glory. In the Kingdom of Harmony, Xiaoyu was elected as the leader of the uprising at the age of a weak crown. Ionia, hold high and never perish. In the Terror Triangle, Foyego swept across the great passage from the black mist. The King of Ruins, come from here. Dark Sword Demon. Wood. Melon. Star. Spirit. You damn it. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 2. Future Video Live Streaming. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Rainy ground. On the top floor of the casino, Clockdale was talking to Nicole Robin when he suddenly heard a crisp jingle in his ear. QA open. Upon hearing this sound, Clockdale sat up straight, and the QA had appeared more than a dozen times. Everyone had gone from being shocked at the beginning to becoming accustomed to it now. Soon, many people gradually entered the chat room, mostly high-level officials from various major forces. There are high-ranking officials from the world government, naval commanders, and captains of the 4th Imperial Regiment. Of course, the fastest ones are the following ones. Rocks. The market is open. The market is open. Bet on whose underpants you're taking this time, /rubbing hands. JPG, Pirate King Roger. Do you have money? If you don't have money, what kind of business do you open and what kind of big garlic do you put in, /nose picking? JPG, rocks. You bastard. Who said I don't have money? Back then, the whole ocean was mine. Rocks. Why did you add the word pirate before Roger Wong's name? What about my name? My name is Rox D. Jibek, and I have a name and surname. Don't call me Rocky in the future, /sunglasses. JPG, when I was a pirate before, you didn't even know where to play with mud. Pirate King Roger. It used to be before, now is now. Don't always treat the past as the present. Cuisine, practice more. If you can't afford to play, don't play, /stand up. JPG, rocks. At Whitebeard, at Beast Kato, at Charlotte Lingling, at Golden Lion Ski, come and dig up that kid's grave for me. Beast Kai Duo. Captain, why don't you rest? Every time, you two are the most noisy, and the dead are really idle. Waiting for the water every day. Rocks. I won't argue with you. What about Lingling? Lingling must still remember that beautiful night we had back then. Beast Kai Duo. I just called Bug over there and asked. They are busy giving birth. There is no time for the water group. Pirate King Roger. Ha 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 ha, /smash table laugh. JPG, Underworld King Raleigh. Ha ha ha, /clamping the table and laughing. JPG, Carp. Ha ha ha, /laughing at the table. JPG, Golden Lion Shurji. Ha ha ha, /smash at the table. JPG, White Beard. Ha ha ha, /laughing at the table. JPG, Warring States period. Ha ha ha, /laughing at the table. JPG, Charlotte Katakali. Refusal statement. No intention of occupying public resources, but given the recent unfounded rumors against our pirate captain, we strongly condemn them. Once again, I would like to reiterate that my mother has not given birth to a child, she is just suffering from anorexia. Please stop spreading rumors. She is in the kitchen, rushing to make desserts, let's moisten it first. Eustace kid. Hey. You old folks. Are you off topic? Shouldn't the most important thing be that QA has been opened again? The other newcomers who were secretly peeping on the screen were stunned by Kid's words, and it was unknown where the Lento Chin came from with such extraordinary bravery. The chat room also experienced a moment of silence. Subsequently. Pirate King Roger. Hahaha, has this kid always been so brave? Golden Lion Shurji. Humph. A little ghost who knows nothing about heaven and earth. Beast Kai Duo. Little ghost, I'm waiting for you in the new world. White beard. A little devil who is too arrogant is not qualified to be my son. Crane. Alright. A group of old helpers, scrolling through the screen, I can't even see the questions clearly. As soon as he spoke, he finally brought the topic back to the main topic, and everyone then turned their attention to the issue in the live broadcast room. Multiple choice question. What did the Straw Hat group find at the funeral hall of the Alabastion royal family? A. Clockdale's golden hook, B. The whereabouts of the underworld king, C. The historical text roadmap of Rafdru, D. Tomb of the ancient Shurima Empire, E. Nothing found, tip. This answer is limited to the entire area of Alabastion, with a limited number of respondents, that is, the answer mode. Clockdale's gaze fixed, he took a deep breath of his cigar, and turned to Nicole Robin beside him, seemingly nonchalantly asking. Where have the Straw Hat Boys group gone? Nicole Robin had a formulaic smile on her face that was puzzling. The billionaire commander sent to monitor said he has arrived in Alabaston from the Rapeseed Flower Port. Tell me to keep an eye on them. They have to report wherever they go along the way. Nicole Robin remained silent, still with her formulaic smile. She leaned slightly and turned to leave the office. In the dimly lit office, all of a sudden there was only Clockdale left, and with the sound of inhaling, the burning cigars flickered crimson in the room. At the same time, before most people could finish reading the questions, the chat room was on fire. Pirate King Roger. At Underworld King Raleigh, why are you going to someone else's ancestral tomb, old boy? Hades King Raleigh. Are you having bubbles in your brain? If you don't use your brain, donate it. Is this about me? Domingo. Fleur Fleur, I guess this is referring to the ancient weapon. The Hades King. Right. Domingo. Fleur Fleur Fleur. This is really interesting. Is the Hades in Alabastion? I remember the Nefertari family was also. Warring States period. Duo Flamenco, shut up. Domingo. Whispering, Red Dog. You damn pirates should all go to hell. Rocks. Is there a dog barking? Pirate King Roger. At Clockdale, then this must be you, right? Clockdale. Kapu. Get away from me. At Straw Hat Boy Luffy, Luffy. What have you done, you stinky kid? Warring States period. It's your grandson again, Kapu. Straw Hat Kid Luffy. Ha. Grandpa, we're just going to fight the 7 Marshal C. Clockdar. Clockdale. Carp. Luffy, where are you now? Have you found that funeral hall? Straw Hat Boy Luffy. Not yet. We just arrived in Alabastion. Nami. How dare you say so? If it weren't for you manipulating the rudder, how could we have deviated from the course? Straw Hat Boy Luffy. Ah. I'm sorry, Nami, hee 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 hee. Kapu. You stinky kid, just stay where you are and I'll go find you right away. This time, I must make you a just naval soldier. Straw Hat Boy Luffy. No, I don't want it. I'm the man who wants to become the One Piece. Nami, who was far away in the Rapeseed Flower Harbor, covered Luffy's mouth and awkwardly said in the chat group. Nami. Sorry everyone, our foolish captain hasn't woken up yet. What he said is nonsense. Everyone, keep going, keep going. Rocks. No, I know about the underworld. Ancient weapons. I also know about historical texts. I even read them back then. Rocks. But who can explain to me who the Straw Hat Group are, who Clockdale is, and what kind of place is this ancient Shurima Empire? Beast Kai Duo. Captain, let me tell you this. I don't know the Straw Hat Boy, he's probably just a group of miscellaneous soldiers who have been eliminated by the domineering and domineering aura. Clockdale, let me tell you this, it's like the interns we use to clean the decks on the ship. As for the Shurima Empire, I haven't heard of it either. Rocks. You can say that at a glance. Clockdale. Pirate King Roger. In turn. Is Shanks like that? How are you doing? Come out and make a fool of yourself, don't keep asking questions. At Clockdale's angry cigars all fell to the ground. If it weren't for the terrifying nature of the Rocks pirates, if it weren't for the inability to defeat Keto, and if it weren't for the many monsters still alive in the Roger pirates, he would have scolded Roger 2 less mothers. As for why they can't fight but only scold Roger, of course it's because everyone is bragging and he's always telling the truth, and he keeps poking his lungs. However, Clockdale doesn't have time to vent his frustrations with Roger now. He looked at this question with a cold light in his eyes. Isn't he planning for several years in Alabastion just for the Hades? And now the QA also provides information that the Underworld King is buried in the Alabastion Shrine, which is another powerful proof. As for the other few answers, A appears to be just trying to make up the numbers. While historical texts may be possible, it is certainly more likely to be the Underworld King. As for what the Shurima Empire has not even heard of, it appears to be false. Clever as me / JPG and others don't know, but he believes that the Alabastion royal family must know what is buried in the funeral hall. And someone in the chat room has already turned their gaze to the Underworld King. Wait a little longer, maybe someone will guess. In order not to be preempted by others, Proctor eagerly answered in the chat room. Clockdale. I choose B. The whereabouts of the Underworld King. Ding. The end of this quiz, answered by Clodal. Choose answer B. The whereabouts of the Underworld King. Wrong answer. Deprive the sand fruit. The messages passing through the chat room paused for a moment, and then became lively again. Pirate King Roger. Good guy, you're a ruthless person. Without hesitation, I feel heartbroken for you. Rocks. Stain. 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 Scary, it's really miserable. Beast Kai Duo. Waste of opportunity. Domingo. It doesn't seem like the Underworld King. Oh my, I guessed wrong. Clockder's face turned pale, and he felt an unknown force pulling away the sand fruit from his body. His face turned extremely pale all at once, and he was sweating profusely. He could no longer transform into an elemental, and Crocodile roared in a ferocious voice. How could this answer be wrong? I've been in Alabastion for so many years just for the Hades' sake, you must be lying to me. Faced with Croctor's questioning, the light screen in the live broadcast room flickered slightly, immediately forming a row of blood-red characters. The respondent has doubts, may I ask if the relevant footage has been played? Clockdale gritted his teeth and said, yes. He doesn't believe this answer, Alabastion has nothing more than the underworld. Today he wants to see what this QA can tell him about Ziku Inmao. Playing video, The Resurrection of the Shurima Empire, Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. The Empire of Shurima. Ascenders. You are listening at novelfull.audio. And when everyone in the live broadcast room saw that the video was about to be played, they all came to their senses. From previous live streaming videos, it often reveals a lot of hidden information, let alone this time involving an empire that no one has heard of. Crane. From this title, it should be related to an unknown history. Nicole Robin. Blank history. Clockdale glanced at Nicole Robin beside him, frowned but didn't say anything. He no longer has the ability of Sha fruit and cannot guarantee to suppress this woman to the fullest. After all, the confidence of this woman who has been on the brink of death for many years is her endless means. Green Pheasant. Is history, Crane. Maybe we should ask the Lord. At Nefertari Kabla, do you have any records of this Shrema empire? Nefertari Cobra. No, I haven't heard of it at all, let alone know why there are tombs of this empire in our royal family's funeral hall. Nefertari Cobra. However, since it is in our royal funeral hall, it must be a very important history. It may be a country before the founding of Alabastion, but I don't know why there is no record at all. He originally intended to ask Cobra. After all, the Nefertari family has been a royal family of Alabastion for generations. Even when the 20 kings moved to Maria, the Nefertari family did not give up on Alabastion. Maybe they have clues about this empire, but I didn't expect him to know nothing either. But Cobra was also surprised. He had never really heard of the Shrema Empire, and he thought the answer to this question would be the Hades. Previously, he was still regretting that he had slowed down Clockdale by one step. Crane. It seems to be quite ancient history. Holy Land, Maria, Panga City, between powers. 5 old stars stood or sat watching the speeches of everyone in the live broadcast room, frowning and unsure of what they were thinking. What do you think? This Shrema Empire. I haven't heard of it at all. Could it be a country that existed in that period of history? It's possible. Don't forget that the Nefertari family is also one of the 20 kings. What is the empire that existed before their founding? Can I still say it? I will immediately have the warring states order a blockade of Alabastion. It's useless, it's too late now. What should we do? Do we need to inform Lord IMM? Let's take a look first. Command CP0 to keep an eye on it and take advantage of the moment to set off for Alabastion to collect intelligence. Also, send a message to He, asking her to pay attention to guiding public opinion. No, send it to warring states, he knows what to do. Crane. One more thing. Cap's grandson said they just arrived in Alabastion, so that means this should be something that happens in the future. For Crane, the chief staff officer of the Navy headquarters, even Doflamingo, who was chased up and down by Crane, recognized her wisdom. Upon hearing this, everyone in the live broadcast room widened their eyes. Future video. This kind of future video has never appeared before. Someone once knew about the future video in advance and avoided his inevitable fate. So no matter who it is, they are particularly concerned about this kind of future video because it inevitably carries a lot of unknown information, which can be a life-saving thing at critical moments. For a moment, everyone was eagerly anticipating that he could analyze a few more sentences, but unfortunately he had just received a reminder from the Warring States period. Although he did not reject the practice of guiding public opinion, he would not follow the orders of the 5 old stars and would not take the initiative to do so. The best approach was to remain silent. With the chaos in the chat group, the live broadcast room also began to have images. A light and shadow shot up from the live broadcast room and instantly transformed into a huge light curtain covering the entire sky. The crowd in the live broadcast room stared closely. The sound starts before the screen, and the rustling sound of the wind and sand first fills my ears before the screen starts playing. The yellow sand swept across the sky, swirling in the dim sky with the wind. In the distance, 2 strong and 2 thin figures could gradually be seen on the horizon, no, perhaps 3. The burly man was actually holding a person in his hand, dragging him along the desert by the neck. Following him was a beautiful woman with slightly dark skin. As soon as this scene appeared, the chat group exploded, because these three people were not some unknown little people, and many people recognized them. That sturdy person is renowned on the sea, and it is the 7 martial seas, the sand crocodile. Although she ranks last in strength and fame among the 7 martial seas, she is also a few strong men. Moreover, the woman beside him is not a bad person. After several live broadcasts, the truth of the O'Hara incident, which has already been exposed, has made people all over the world know her. Nicole Robin, historian wanted by the world government for several years, and also the only known person in the world who can understand the main text of history today. No one expected that the person the world government had been looking for years would be entangled with the 7 armed seas they recognized. Even more heavyweight is the figure dragged forward, the current king of the ancient superpower Alabastion. Nefertari Cobra. Everyone was in an uproar. As the ruler of a country, he was treated in such a way, and those who were aware of the hidden history of Alabastion frowned fiercely. Nicole Robin, the main text of history, Alabastion, what the hell does Crocodile want to do? The screen continues. The three of them walked together and arrived at a huge palace complex, which was both magnificent and solemn. Clockdale kept walking, dragging Cobra towards the depths of the palace complex. The rough stone slabs rubbed against Cobra's skin, leaving deep red bloodstains on the way. Nicole Robin, standing beside her, bit her lips tightly, lowered her head, and couldn't help but follow behind silently. Finally, Croctor stopped in front of a huge monument and threw Cobra onto the ground in front of it. He let out a cold snort before slowly saying, "It's really easy for me to find, Cobra. Finally, you figured out the location of the historical text from your mouth. If it weren't for threatening your daughter and the entire Alabastion, I'm afraid you wouldn't have been so easy to say the location of the royal funeral hall." Cubula, whose face was covered in blood stains on the ground, lifted his head and stared fiercely at Clockdale. "You scoundrel, how could you use the lives of millions of people in Alabastion as a sacrifice for your ambition? Such a playful act. What do you really consider human life? I'm a pirate, what's wrong with doing these things to achieve my ambitions?" Crocodile said disdainfully, "It's just a little bit of an ant. It's their honor to count them as a credit on my journey to become a king and dominate the country. Cobra, I can't believe you, as the ruler of a country, are still so naive. But you're no longer useful. When I get the ancient weapons, the whole world will submit to me, ha ha ha." Clocktor laughed wildly. Then he turned his head and fixed his sinister gaze on Robin. He spoke hoarsely and ordered, "Now is the time for you to play a role. Go and unravel this historical text. I want to know its full content." Robin remained silent and walked slowly to the main text of history, beginning to interpret its content word by word. But as she interpreted more and more, her expression became more and more shocked, and in the end, she trembled with excitement all over her body. Even after she finished reading it completely, she still couldn't help but murmur, "There's such a thing. The Empire of Shrema. The Heavenly Warriors." Clockdale impatiently interrupted her contemplation. "What did you see? Tell me." At this moment, Robin gradually calmed down and looked hesitantly at Clockdale. She knew what a shocking secret was contained in the historical text she had just interpreted. Once it was spread, the whole world was in danger of collapse. If ambitious individuals like Clockdale were to grasp such secrets, the world would definitely move in a completely uncontrollable direction. With this in mind, she made up her mind and quickly crossed her hands in front of her, saying, "2 rounds of flowers bloom." Clockdale had 2 slender arms growing out of his body, twisting his neck up and down with a loud snap. The next second, Clockdale's head turned into a ball of sand, and then yellow sand filled the air, tightly binding Robin. Clockdale, who had returned to his original state, looked at her with a gloomy face and said, "Are you not afraid that I will kill you?" Robin glanced at him, stopped talking, closed his eyes, and waited for death. Instead of waiting for the enraged Clockdale to take action, he heard his wild laughter. She opened her eyes in confusion and heard the words that seemed like ghosts from hell. If you don't speak, I will kill everyone in Alabastion. Robin's face changed dramatically, and she quickly said, the Navy has already landed on the island. They won't let you do this. Ha ha ha, how ironic. Nicole Robin, you have been wanted by the Navy since you were young, but now you rely on the Navy to threaten me. However, it's okay. Now, the people in the capital of Alabastion, along with the rebels, account for 78% of the total population. Before the Navy arrives on a large scale, it's enough for me to slaughter them all. Robin's face changed and he gritted his teeth, thinking about ways to break the game, but in the end he still said unwillingly, you. Despicable. Clockdale smiled deceitfully with pride and said, how can a pirate be called a pirate if he's not despicable? There aren't many tricks, just use them well. Cobra is like this, and you are like this. Alright, let's talk about this secret in the main text of history. Robin spoke slowly and dejectedly. This records an ancient history about a vast empire that had already disappeared. The Shrimar Empire. The Empire of Shrema. I've never heard of it before, keep going. Clockdale frowned. The Shurima Empire. The never-ending kingdom of the sun. Was an empire that existed even longer than the establishment of the world government 800 years ago. They originated in this desert, believed in the sun, and were the rulers of most of the world at that time. Clockdale's pupils narrowed and he said, the rulers of the world. How could it be? How did they do it? They mastered a special ritual known as the Ascension Ceremony, by Shurima, and those who accepted this ritual were called the Ascenders. The power of the ascending beings is immensely powerful, with a massive physique. Their appearance and body are a terrifying mixture of humans and animals. They possess various magical powers, transforming from mortals to immortal divine warriors. In Shurima, they have a whole army of Ascenders who are invincible and invincible. Ascenders, this special species, have grown stronger with Shurima's growth. The strength of Ascenders has given ancient Shurima unparalleled glory. In the desolate and empty funeral hall, Robin's voice echoes softly. Under the crushing force and the selfless dedication of the ascending beings, Gu Shurima unified the four seas. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 1. Realizing Fake Practices. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The year 1520 in the Haiyuan calendar. The Great Route, Alabaston Rapeseed Port. Rapeseed Port is the largest port city in the desert country of Alabastion, where a constant flow of merchant ships barely sustains the vitality of this drought-stricken country. At this moment, on the sea not far from the port, a slightly cute Mianyang head pirate ship is slowly entering the port. On the bow of the boat, a handsome black-haired man gently grabbed the tender white hand of the blue-haired girl beside him. Looking at her always worried eyebrows and eyes, she comforted her softly and said, "No problem, Vivi. We're going back very quickly, and we still have time for everything." "Thank you, Albert. I'm just a little worried about my father, and a little worried about the future fate of this country." "Fool, there's no need to say thank you between us. Don't worry too much. Everything still belongs to me, no matter what happens, I will be by your side." Vivi looked at him with emotion, her eyes filled with tears, and then nodded firmly. Albert gently embraced Vivi, his thoughts drifting away. "That's right, Albert is a traveler. He is not a native of this world. A year ago, his golden finger led him across the globe to this world. He only found out after receiving the information that he had traveled to the world of One Piece and had replaced the original identity of Mr. Nine in this world, which was Vivi's partner who had been lurking in the Baroque Work Society. Perhaps due to the deviation caused by Albert's travels, Mr. Nine, who always wears a crown, is truly a prince in his true identity. His full name is Liku Albert. He became the third child of the non-existent king of Dressrosa, who was the next king of Dressrosa, but what should have happened happened, and Doflamenco had already overturned the country. Because he wanted to evade the pursuit of Doflamenco, he was secretly sent back to the first half of the Great Voyage by King Liku, and joined the Baroque Work Society under cover, waiting for the opportunity to regain his country in the future. Of course, Albert did not have his soul pierced through this body, but was replaced by some unknown power from the Golden Finger. Subsequently, Golden Finger strengthened Albert's former otaku's physical potential, allowing his physical talent to match that of the world's top monster, the Shanghai Thief King. However, perhaps it took him too much energy to travel through time, and finally strengthened Albert's body again. After completing these tasks, Golden Finger fell into a deep sleep. For a year, Albert has been practicing crazily, but in his previous life, he was just an ordinary person who did not understand the key points of cultivation. In this life, his identity is also that of a pampered prince. If it weren't for any changes, he might not have been exposed to cultivation at all. Now that he wants to practice, he has been driven out of the country like a lost dog. Until Vivi and he became partners, as the Princess of Alabastion, Vivi could easily collect various cultivation secrets, so Albert directly confronted Vivi. He made a deal with her, and Vivi provided him with sufficient cultivation resources, while he helped Vivi solve the rebellion of the kingdom in the future. At first, Vivi was still uncertain, thinking about when her identity was exposed and whether this person was an undercover agent sent by Clockdale. But after Albert showed off his strong cultivation talent, Vivi was stunned and immediately decided to cooperate with Albert. As a princess of a country, I have seen countless geniuses, but geniuses are easy to come by and monsters are hard to find. Are these countries not willing to cultivate their top strong individuals? It is also difficult for them to find monsters with such top-level talents. Throughout the world of pirates, there are only a few monsters with names and surnames on the sea. If any faction does not cultivate a monster with such top-level talents well and instead uses it as an undercover agent, it must be that Cap's head has been crushed. Subsequently, Vivi provided him with a large amount of cultivation resources, and even Albert couldn't help but be secretly surprised by the heritage of Alabastion, an 800-year-old superpower. But it is not realistic whether the time is too short or starting from scratch, after a year of hard work, to catch up with the strength of those monsters on the sea. However, even so, after a year, Albert's strength still reached the level of a naval headquarters brigadier general. As for the devil fruit, Alabastion was not without it, but Albert hesitated and refused repeatedly because he knew he still had a golden finger. Even if he was asleep now and didn't know when he would be able to recover, he didn't want to give himself another fatal weakness. But recent changes in the world have made him increasingly impatient, and he urgently needs strength to deal with potential crises in the future. This change is strange. In the past month, there has been a sudden appearance of something called random question answering in the world, which will pull people from all over the world into a huge chat room, even those who have already died. Everyone is here to participate in some kind of random prize-winning quiz. These quizzes may be multiple-choice questions, question and answer questions, or other open-ended questions. In short, the person who answers correctly will receive various rewards, but the cost of answering incorrectly is to lose something important about oneself, such as demon fruit ability, martial arts skills, lifespan, and even life. There was once a person who was deprived of 80 years of life due to answering the wrong question, and in the blink of an eye, he transformed from a young and strong young man to an old man with white hair, and died of aging on the spot. Since the emergence of QA in the past month, there have been more than 10 cumulative QA sessions of various sizes, each of which has suddenly started and involves questions about the past and future, with no regularity. At first, people didn't believe it, they just thought it was some unknown demon fruit power maker who caused the ghost. It wasn't until someone verified that the answers given in the QA were indeed past events or future events that people gradually believed in the authenticity of the QA. Moreover, due to the emergence of this random QA, even deceased individuals can appear in chat rooms, coupled with the uncertain disclosure of QA, many secrets in the world have been made public. For example, in the last QA live broadcast, the beginning and end of the O'Hara incident were made public, and the world government suddenly became a target of public opinion. There is also the Rocks Pirates, a sea lord from the previous era who taught young pirates a lesson with terrifying power. 3 of the 4 emperors were once members of the Rocks Pirates. It was terrifying. In addition, there are also many people who soar to the sky by answering the right questions, and there are many examples of bounties doubling. But Albert dared not relax his guard at all. In his previous life, he had read many novels of this type of question and answer, and who knows if there was a mastermind behind the scenes manipulating everything. Albert didn't know if there was a protagonist hiding behind the scenes in this world, but he didn't dare to gamble. Even if he looked at those extremely simple questions for him, he dared not go up and answer them for his own benefit. After all, if there is really a mastermind behind this QA, wouldn't it be like self-destructing if someone who doesn't exist could answer questions that the local indigenous people don't even know? He didn't even have time to hide, how could he seek his own death? But over the course of this year, not only was Vivi moved by his witty and humorous personality, as well as his hard work in cultivation, but he also gradually became attracted to this gentle, kind, and beautiful girl. Not to mention that Albert had already promised Vivi to help her regain Alabastion, which was what they had agreed upon. He never wanted to break his trust with Vivi, as he believed it was the foundation of a man's existence. But with his current strength, it's still a bit uncertain whether he wants to defeat Clockdale. Don't be fooled by how easy it was for Luffy in the original work, it's entirely because the author has given him a protagonist halo. Moreover, if he were to make a name for himself in this incident, it would definitely attract attention. He is not afraid that Franco will find his trace now, but rather that if a mastermind behind the scenes really notices this different little butterfly. So Albert plans to hide his strength first and see if he can follow the plot to kill Clockdale. If not, he will take the risk to try the next random QA. Ding! A crisp mechanical sound rang in Albert's ear. Albert was momentarily stunned, followed by a look of ecstasy. The system has been successfully launched to turn fake into real. His golden fingers have finally revived. And the changes are not limited to that. Quickly, the system's beeps rang one after another. Detected other systems in the current world. After testing, it was found that there were remnants of other systems being destroyed, and it was confirmed that there was no main plugin for the live drama spoiler system. Capturing absorption. 1%. 10%. 26%. Insufficient system energy, capture paused. The current absorption progress is 30%, and low-level permission has been obtained. Reminder. The highest permission for the live spoiler system plugin has failed to be obtained. Please make efforts to collect the energy of the system to help upgrade the system and reach the peak of your life as soon as possible. Please refer to the system interface for details. After a series of prompts, Albert took a deep breath and suppressed his excitement. Consciously clicked on the system panel. Practicing fake to true system. This system is the highest level system, where energy can be created from nothing and create things in the void. The host sets requirements, and the system independently collects spiritual and belief energy from living beings. The more people believe in it and experience complex emotions such as shock, fear, worship, etc., the more energy the system will collect until it transforms fake into true, and everything is possible. Current occurrence. None present. None plugin. Live drama spoiler system. Permission 30%, insufficient absorption progress, low-level permission, can only set QA, tamper with videos, unable to obtain rewards. It took Albert a while to figure out this system. First of all, this fake-to-real system should be his golden finger, a time traveler. The function is also very simple, which means that if he wants to embody something or someone, he must first set it up and then promote it, so that the system can collect enough energy to achieve success. For example, if he claims to be the world's largest swordsman, as long as enough people trust him, he will gain concrete energy progress. When the final energy progress reaches 100%, he will become the true world's largest swordsman. Albert smacked his lips, my goodness, pure and forgetful. Of course, there are also significant limitations to this. It is not something that can be easily realized. Undoubtedly, the more powerful the design, the more people need to recognize, acknowledge, and believe in it. To be honest, the ability of this system is strong, but how to make others believe his fabricated settings in the early stages is indeed a challenge. It's not that you claim to be a creator god, someone will believe it. Even if you do, the system energy required for realization is an astronomical number. But with this live streaming spoiler system, it's completely different. Albert found that these two are simply the perfect partners. As long as his fabricated video can be broadcasted once on this future live, will the progress of the fabricated setting be slowly increasing? Yeah, it seems that no one is the mastermind behind this, is it? Then I'll do it. Director Albert, get started. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. The Collapse of the Empire, Ending Unheard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The argument in the chat group is still ongoing, and no one can convince anyone. Although there are fewer hawks than doves, those who dare to be hawks are not weak, so their strength here is not weak. For example, rocks. You're afraid of an egg. If a person dies, the bird will face the sky. If they don't die for thousands of years, deal with it. It's not a big deal, give it. Qingji. Dead people, don't speak, have no right to speak, don't accept. Red dog. At Marshal of the Warring States period. I suggest that 2MO order all to be coded and dive, saturate the coverage to strike Fishman Island, and then connect with my meteor volcano. I believe this destructive power can be achieved in one battle. Warring States. Sakaski, are you going to stop considering it? Golden Lion Shiki. When it comes to destructive power, perhaps no one can match Newgate's seismic fruit. If he had a sea shock at the bottom of the sea, it would have solved everything. Steel Bone Sky. I disagree. That's Fishman Island, the bottom of the Red Earth continent, with the Holy Land of Maria right above. If there is a sea earthquake, what will the Dragon Man and Maria do? Golden Lion Shurji. What should we do? What do the Tianlong people and Maria have to do with us, /doubts? JPG, Beast Kai Duo. Saying so much is considered a pity. If you ask me, I'll give it a dragon inflammation to vomit, Lingling will give it a domineering blow, the old and immortal with white beard will give it another sea shock. Finally, I'll wrap up with Lingling and make up for a sea shock. I don't believe I can't break a small crack. Beast Kai Duo. If it really doesn't work, then go through the above steps again. White beard. Gulalalalala, I'm different from you guys. I've never said I want to destroy Fishman Island. White beard. The Fisherman Island is a territory protected by the Whitebeard pirates, as it is adorned with the pirate flag of Laozi's Whitebeard. Are you bastards discussing how to destroy the Fisherman Island so recklessly that you want to go to war with the Whitebeard pirates? Whitebeard's words are too serious. Many hawkish people have a pale complexion, and this old bastard is like a troublemaker. No matter how fierce the other people argue in the chat group, they are just talking nonsense, but this old bastard really dares to take it seriously. The situation at sea is not yet clear, and no one wants to provoke the strongest man in the world. If we go to war with him recklessly, it will not be worth the loss. If we cannot catch the fox, it will only cause a lot of trouble. Damn it, but the more these people think, the angrier they get. This old bastard has been diving and peeping in the chat group, and when he opens his mouth, he's like a toad crawling on its feet. Not biting people but responding to them. Nipton. Newgate. You, thank you. White beard. Gulalalala, no need to say more, Nipton. Remember to treat me to a drink next time. Nipton. No problem, I will definitely prepare the best wine from the Dragon Palace Kingdom to welcome you. However, after being stirred up by Baihu, the people in the chat group also temporarily stopped fighting and no longer insisted on making a decision. Even the toughest red dog just snorted coldly and didn't say much. In fact, the argument with Qingji just now was so intense that he couldn't stop emotionally for a moment. He also knew that this argument would have no result, and neither side could convince each other. It was just that the words had already reached that point, and stopping was not something he could decide. Coincidentally, Whitebeard's stirring and stirring disrupted the tense atmosphere just now, and everyone tacitly ended the topic. However, even Red Dog did not expect that after years of relentless fighting with the pirates, the group of scumbags on the sea who stood on his side the most was actually these scumbags. Although it was only for this brief moment that the interests of those villainous pirates were aligned with the absolute justice of Red Dog, it must be said that this seems quite ironic. It can only be said that there is no right or wrong in the adult world, only interests. When the chat group quiets down, the footage in the live broadcast room has already played to the next segment. I didn't expect the origin of the Shampoo Land Islands and the Fishman Island to be like this. This is really unbelievable, said Crocodile with a hint of emotion. What happened later? What happened later? How did such a huge Shurima empire collapse? I don't know. Clockdale's face changed and he said to Robin with a sinister expression, "Are you playing with me?" "It's not like that, it's just as recorded in historical texts," Robin told the truth. The main text of history records that the Shurima Empire, which retreated to this desert homeland, silently regained its strength and slowly regained some vitality. However, the ascending legion suffered heavy losses in the Void Battle, and the surviving Heavenly God warriors were constantly harassed and tortured by some unknown force, making them unable to fight for the Empire anymore. Until Prince Azir of Shurima ascended to the throne, according to historical records, since his accession to the throne, Azir has been diligent in governance, loving the people, being clear and upright, and his national strength has gradually become stronger. With his great talent and strategy, Azir has given the Shurima Empire a chance to become stronger again. What happened later? Clockdale asked nervously. He couldn't believe that after such a major blow, the Shurima Empire could still give birth to a talented and strategic leader like Azir. Is the Shurima Empire really a kingdom beloved by gods? Robin's tone became somewhat incredulous, as if unable to accept a certain fact. No more. The rapidly reviving Shurima Empire collapsed overnight. Ah. No one knows what exactly happened, only that the Shurima Empire underwent a huge change in just one day, and the talented and strategic ruler of Zhongxing, Azir, became the last emperor of the Shurima Empire. This vast empire was buried by the yellow sand in a short period of time, and no one knows where those Shrimars and Ascenders went. Only some elderly people who remember the glory of Shurima once passed down this history by word of mouth. Hundreds of years later, they formed new tribes in this desert and established Alabastan in the remains of Shurima's past, recording this history in historical texts. Robin finally finished speaking, but even now, she is still trembling with excitement from this glorious history. Her face is flushed, and there is a fervent expression on it, which is the almost faith-like curiosity of a historian about unknown history. Previously, she was able to die peacefully in the hands of Clockdale because she felt that she had fulfilled the last wish of Dr. Clover and his companions, and that she was exhausted both physically and mentally under years of wanted by the world government and did not want to live any longer. It's better to go to hell with this history and not let any ambitious person get it, which can also be considered as making a little contribution to the world in the end. But as she repeated it bit by bit to Clockdale, she also discovered more details about this history, and her mindset changed accordingly. As a historian, if she sees such a magnificent history but cannot fully excavate it and make it public, she will definitely be the culprit of history. Even if she dies like this, the doctor and his team will not forgive her. So she doesn't want to die now. She fears death, but she doesn't stingy with her own life. She's just afraid that she can't completely unravel this history before she dies. If her first 20 years of life were just living for others, then now she wants to live for herself, for the truth of history. Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Void Cracks, Destruction or Laissez Faire. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Compared to the two unheard of names of Ikasia and Void, the names of Shambhadra Islands and Fishman Island are much more well known to the world. No one expected that. They thought they were just revealing a glorious past of an ancient empire that had already disappeared, but suddenly heard these two place names that still exist in the world. The thrill of crossing the river of history instantly made everyone in the live broadcast room sweat and goosebumps all over their bodies. If someone else were to tell them that the vast Shampoo Land archipelago is just a dilapidated remnant after the war, they would definitely treat him to his favorite big mouth, let everyone in the Sherlock family come and pee for him to taste the sweetness, and finally spit and say, "Hatue stupid bee." But now what is being said is a question and answer video, and it is not an unfounded and arbitrary conclusion. Combined with the various information known in the video, they found that the most likely places in this area are actually the Shampoo Land Islands and the Fishman Island. Firstly, the video states that the Shurima Empire expanded to any visible location, and the first half of the Great Voyage ended in the Shambhadri Islands. Secondly, don't ask why you didn't cross the Red Soil continent to fight in the New World. If according to the video, there was no Fishman Island at that time, which means that the Shurima Empire could not cross the Red Soil continent from the bottom of the sea. Even if the ascending beings can fly over the Red Earth continent from the top, the Shurima Empire thousands of years ago probably did not have the technology to make the Imperial Army cross over. Even if the heavenly god warriors conquer the New World, it would be meaningless. It would be a pity to abandon the uncontrolled enclave. So, the Shambhadri Islands are the border of the Shurima Empire. Is it reasonable for a country's lack of control over its borders to lead to rebellion? Reasonable, very reasonable. They couldn't help but seriously ponder the authenticity of this paragraph, but the more they recall the conversation just now, the more they feel that the mother's logic is extremely reasonable, perfectly coherent, and they really can't find any loopholes. Is all of this true? The Shampoo Islands were once named Acacia, but now the 79 Elman mangroves are just giant trees left after the war. Is that Fishman Island also true? Is the birth of Fishman Island due to the huge holes left under the Red Earth continent after the Battle of the Void? No wonder the eternal light of Fishman Island. What the hell is the photosynthesis of Eve, the sun tree? It turned out that it was due to the power of the sun left by the Shurima Empire to suppress the seal of the void. That makes sense, and that's the truth of the matter. What seems to be wrong, Fishman Island? Void. Oh my god. You have died young. Piercing the sky. Leaving the analysis behind, they finally remembered that if all of this was true, wouldn't it be that there was a crack leading to the void below the Fisherman Island? This was not a joke. This thing was really going to kill people, and it might even cause a disaster of destruction. And at this moment, the most uncomfortable thing is the people of Fishman Island, especially the King Neptune of Fishman Island, who is about to cry. Originally, Fishman Island had suffered from pirate attacks, but now he has been informed that there is a super large bomb sitting under his own buttocks. After sitting for so many years, the thought of even the powerful heavenly god warriors, the Shurima Empire, having suffered a disastrous victory and even the Empress Facian, collapsing here has left his blood cold all over. Nipton. Woo, I'm still sitting here eating melons and watching movies. Why did it just hit me? My heart, it's like pulling out the cold. Nipton. Woo 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 ancestor wow. Why do you want to settle your home here? I'm too difficult. Pirates are coming to rob our people, and humans don't treat us like humans. As a member of the world government, the Navy doesn't help us either. After living a peaceful life with a white beard on your back for 2 years, now it's even more difficult for the whole family to ascend to meet your elderly family. I'm too difficult woo 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 woo. Doflamingo. Huffer fraffer 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 Albert. Good guy, I've heard this abacus even in Alabastion. Domingo. Are you? Fleur fleur, you useless person. I didn't expect that you were still alive and not good enough to be a street mouse to survive. How dare you stand up in front of me? Albert. Please cherish your last moments, Domingo. I will go back, I will crush your bones one by one. Alabastion. Is it? Doflamenco frowned, unsure if this kid was fierce and cunning or if he really had some confidence. However, as a hero, caution has always been synonymous with him, and he decided to go to Alabastion after this future live broadcast ended. Even if Alabastion is the storm center of this incident, many people will definitely gather here after the video ends. He has decided to go and nip this small hidden danger. As for why not go now, please, how much stronger can he become in just one video / spread your hands? JPG. The struggle between Albert and Doflamenco only passed by in a flash. Although some kind-hearted people noticed this, the vast majority of people didn't even have time to take a glance. After all, Albert is now just an unknown nobody, and his harsh words towards Doflamenco look like a clown's unwilling howl, seeking his own death. The topics in the chat group turned to other directions in less than a second. Red Dog. If there is really a void crack below Fishman Island, I suggest applying for the demon-slaying order to strike. Neptune. Chinji. You are too extreme, Sakaski. I will never allow such a thing to happen. Fishman Island is also a member of the world government, and you are disregarding the safety of the people. Red Dog. Humph, Kuzan, you're too indecisive. Is that all you can see in the long run? You're not even worthy of being a naval general. So, let me ask you, what if the void crack under Fishman Island is opened up? Is it sacrificing Fishman Island or the whole world? Red Dog. Even the ascents of Shurima suffered heavy losses. If the cracks really opened, what would you use to resist them? Do you rely on those pirates? If the Navy loses too much, it would be good if they don't burn, kill, and loot in the first place. You are disregarding the safety of the people. Kuzan, you are so naive. Red Dog. And I didn't say I wanted to sacrifice the fish people on the island, I just said I wanted to destroy the fish people on the island. Green Pheasant. What is the difference between destroying Fishman Island and destroying Fishman? You don't know the situation of Fishman on land. Without Fishman Island, they would all have to die. Chinji. And it's not necessary to destroy that gap. Isn't there still a seal from the Shurima Empire suppressing that gap? As long as the light of the Fisherman Island doesn't go out, doesn't it prove that the seal still exists? Red Dog. Stupid to the extreme, pinning the survival of the world on a seal that doesn't know when it will expire. When the seal expires, everything will be too late. At that time, the world will be devastated. Is that what you want to see? Chinji. If that were the case, I would definitely take the lead in resisting the void at the forefront, but now, I will never allow you to destroy the Fishman Island. Moreover, how can you know that your attack on the Fishman Island will be successful, rather than accelerating the failure of the seal and releasing the void in advance? Red Dog. That's better than doing nothing and just looking at it. Originally, most people were about to be convinced by the Red Dog. Compared to sacrificing an island of fish to protect their own safety, it was not difficult for most people to make a choice. After all, the knife did not fall on them. As for the opinion of the island of fish, is that important? Not important. And many people are eager to see the destruction of the fisherman island. After all, they can earn huge profits from it. But the last sentence of the green pheasant woke them up. Yes, how can your red dog guarantee that it will definitely destroy that void crack? What if it actually backfires and liberates the void? After all, even the Shurima Empire has only sealed the void rift and cannot completely destroy it. Having figured this out, the number of people supporting the green pheasant rapidly increased and eventually surpassed the red dog's side. However, there are also many radical factions in the chat group who insist on using violent means to destroy the Fishman Island. A group of iron-headed children firmly believe that if firepower cannot destroy the void rift, it must be due to insufficient firepower. Finally, the audience in the chat group spontaneously split into two factions. The number of doves and hawks remained stable at a ratio of 7.3, and the two sides argued fiercely. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. The Fall of the Empire. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Silence, unparalleled stillness. No one spoke in the live broadcast room for a long time. After a while, someone gradually regained their senses. Eustace Kid. You're joking. Right. How could such a thing be possible? Luo. Governing the 4 seas. Can a country really handle this kind of thing? Yellow Ape. Within a wide range, it's terrifying to be a soaring person or something. Nami. 4 seas. Wow. How much money does that have to be, $? JPG, Crane. At Nefertari Kubula, Your Majesty Kubula, has there really been no related story circulating among your Alabastion royal family? This matter is of great importance, please tell us the truth. Nefertari Cobra. I really didn't know. When the video was played, I was startled. Rocks. Che, what kind of soaring person, what kind of heavenly warrior? I have been crossing the sea for so many years and have not heard any news. Can't there really be fools who believe it? Do you believe me to be a heavenly dragon person, or do you believe it? Pirate King Roger. I haven't heard of it either, but this is recorded in the main text of history. As we all know, the main text of history cannot be falsified. Moreover, the little girl in the video also said that this is an ancient empire that is even older than the world government. It is normal for history to be passed down to the present day without any records. Don't forget that blank 100 years. Warring States. Roger, shut up. Pirate King Roger. Ha ha ha. You're still the same during the Warring States period. Domingo. What is the virtue of world governments? Everyone knows it, and perhaps it is the history they deliberately erased to cover their mouths. The 5 old stars looked at Duo Flamenco's speech with a gloomy expression, thinking to themselves whether they had given this guy too much good face. They had nothing to do with Roger, but they still couldn't deal with you, this little rascal. The sudden splashing of dirty water made them extremely angry. Yes. They admit that they have indeed done many shameful things for the rule of the world government, but this time they can confidently pat their conscience and say that it was not their fault. It can even be said that this exposed history has left them feeling extremely shocked, and they have no way of judging whether it is true or false. After all, the video also said that this is an empire that has been established much longer than the world government. The 5 old stars exchanged a glance at each other, suppressing their anger. When they saw what was happening, they wanted the crane to go and cause some trouble for Doflamingo. Clockdale. I disagree. Even if the Shurima Empire is real, there is no Shurima Empire tomb in the funeral hall, and it has nothing to do with the Straw Hat Group. Your answer to this question is not correct, and it's just that judgment that I'm wrong. It deprived me of my Shah Shagwashur ability, and I'm not convinced. Nefertitali Cobra. You villain dare to appear. You have done many evil deeds, causing millions of people in Alabastion to suffer. It's really pleasing to see that you no longer have the ability. Everyone has also seen that Croctor, with his ambitious ambitions, has been committing evil within our territory of Alabastion for many years. Now, he is even attempting to overthrow our country. In the name of a member of the world government, I request the Navy to arrest this officer. Warring States. King Cobra, please be calm and not impatient. Protecting the security of the allied countries is our duty as the Navy. I have sent Cap with his warships to Alabastion, and I assure you that Alabastion will never be in danger. Cloctor's face turned pale. Has Cap arrived? Originally, he couldn't even beat Cap with his head, but now he has lost the ability to make sand fruits. Even if he wants to run, it will be difficult. The only way now is to fight the QA system to the end, see if he can catch system vulnerabilities, and regain his fruit ability. It would be even more enjoyable if he could still receive some compensation from the system. Beast Kai Duo. Although Clockdale is a fool, it cannot be denied that he is right. Is the live streaming system really wrong? Crane. It's impossible. Until now, there hasn't been any footage of Kapu's grandson, and the live streaming system wouldn't have such a low-level error. Let's continue looking back. I always feel that the answer lies behind it. The screen flickered and the video continued to play. Clockdale's face was uncertain, seeming somewhat incredulous, but the fact was presented here, and he couldn't help but not believe it. After a while, he hesitated and asked, since the Ascending Legion is so powerful, how did the Shrimar Empire perish? Due to a sudden rebellion, the specific cause of the rebellion is not recorded, but the only known thing is that after the Shurima Empire controlled the Four Seas, they launched a campaign towards the Great Route. With the help of the Ascenders, they conquered the first half of the Great Route in a very short time. Until that day, a rebellion broke out. Clocktor frowned and said, what kind of rebellion can destroy such a behemoth, unify the Four Seas and the first half of the Great Waterway, so that even the world government cannot achieve such prosperity? Robin glanced at him and said, Void. It's written in the main text of history. The power of Shrema expanded its territory to wherever they could see it with the naked eye, and Acacia was no exception. It was a wonderful territory with no land, only the roots of giant trees entwined together to form a continent. After hundreds of years of imperial expansion, the rebellion in the territory of Acacia suddenly erupted, and centuries of rule did not change this once conquered territory. Acacia. The Acacians killed local officials and organized an army to resist the Shurima army. At first, the Shurima Empire did not take this rebellion seriously and only sent a unit to fight. The fighting spirit of the Ikatzia people was very strong, and they repelled several attacks from Shurima. The young Ikatzia people seemed to not know why Shurima was strong, and even planned to pursue him after a successful counterattack, until the Heavenly Warrior entered the battlefield. The entry of the Ascenders completely shattered the pattern of war, and each of their swords carried immense power, bringing deep fear and despair to the people of Acacia. But the Icasians' rebellion was not unprepared. They discovered a gap in the towering continent's seabed, which constantly emitted powerful energy. The defeat on the front battlefield, the Acacians began to release the power in the cracks. Suddenly, several strong beams of light burst out from the cracks, and a huge purple energy arc tore through the sky, hitting the ground like a huge wave. The force of the impact overturned everyone to the ground. The howling sound echoed through the earth, making it difficult to distinguish whether it was people's cries or the anger of the earth. This power devours the earth, sky, divine warriors, and the entire Acacia. No one knows where this power comes from and how powerful it is. I only know that later generations gave him a name. Void. Nicole Robin looked somewhat apprehensive, afraid of the power called the Void just by looking at these descriptions, not to mention the fear experienced by those Shrema warriors who faced the Void. She continued, the appearance of the void caught the Shurima Empire off guard. The Empire decided to have the most brave and skilled heavenly god warrior, Athos, lead the most elite Ascendant army to the battlefield, led by the Ascendant Empress Sataka. After an unknown amount of battle, Shurima won and the void was ultimately sealed under the cracks. However, the victory was also tragic. After the ascension of the martial arts, Sataka sacrificed himself, and the most elite army of the Ascenders suffered heavy losses. The Shurima Empire was no longer able to control the four seas, and they retreated back to this desert homeland, silently licking their wounds to recover their vitality. And Acacia also paid a heavy price for summoning the void for them. The battle between the heavenly warriors and the void destroyed the vast majority of Acacia's giant trees, and their home they relied on for survival was destroyed. After the battle, only 79 giant trees remained. At the very beginning of the void eruption, a large hole was permanently left tens of thousands of meters below the towering continent's seabed. The Empire of Shrema used the power of the sun to seal the void here, and the shining of the sun's power made this place forever bright, with no more darkness. Speaking of this, Robin finally stopped and gave Clockdale a meaningful glance. Don't you think these two places sound familiar? And Clockdale's pupils suddenly shrank, and he said in shock, the Shampoo Islands and the Fishman Islands. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. The Dark King has some power, but not much. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Clockdale's expression was shocked. He never expected that an incredibly powerful empire would come to an end in such a dramatic way. Even their once glorious glory was almost buried in the yellow sand with Shurima. Nowadays, we can only vaguely see the glory and grandeur of the former Eternal Sun Kingdom from the historical text pieced together by a few words. Clockdale opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but couldn't say anything. If it weren't for Robin's fanatical believer appearance, he would have suspected that she was deliberately teasing him. After a long time, Clockdale slowly calmed down and exhaled his turbid breath. At this moment, he seemed to finally remember his original purpose of coming to Alabastion. He had disguised himself for so many years, all for that. The ancient weapon, the Underworld King. Even upon hearing such a bizarre and secretive story from Shurima, he still did not give up on the Underworld King in his heart, because over the years, it had become more than just a matter of the Underworld King. This had become his obsession. Even an unspoken wild hope grew in his heart, that the Underworld King might also be related to Shurima. After all, based on the military power that had already unified the world at that time, it was difficult for any treasure not to belong to them. As we all know, anything related to Shurima has an incredible strength. So, is there a possibility that this Underworld King, is Shurima's treasure of governance? After all, this thing was placed in their ancestral land, so it must be very important, right? Does finding it today, Clockdale, represent my destiny to take over the world from Shrema? No, I can't think anymore. If I think again, I won't be able to hold back my laughter. Hold back. We must maintain the demeanor of the future king of the world. He swallowed his saliva with difficulty and looked at Robin, asking, where is the Underworld King? Where is the Underworld King? Robin was taken aback by his sudden words, and his face was also stunned by his fervent expression. He asked in a silly and cute manner, what kind of Underworld King? Clockdale thought she was pretending to be foolish, and her aura suddenly became extremely fierce. He roared fiercely, I ask you where the Underworld King is. The ancient weapon. The Underworld King. Robin finally came to his senses and knew what he was asking. Oh, you said that. She gave Clockdale a strange look and said with a hint of sympathy, the news of the Hades is indeed recorded in the main text of history, Noah there. After speaking, she pointed to a small piece of the largest stone tablet in front of her. Clockdale's eyelids twitched wildly, and the corners of his mouth twitched wildly. Isn't the underworld the treasure of the Shurima Empire? How could it be recorded in such a small space at the very corner? Robin looked at him like a fool, with a smacking sound of stains in his mouth. Who told you that the underworld king is the treasure of the Shurima Empire? This thing is just an ancient weapon from 800 years ago. It was just discovered and recorded by Alabastion after the founding of the country, and they dare to touch the Shurima that has been around for thousands of years. Oh, by the way, it says that the Hades is just an ancient worship. Robin didn't mind sprinkling some salt on Clockdale's almost heartbreaking wound. But the greatest power of the Hades seems to be the ability to destroy a small island with just one shot. Clockdale's eyes lit up again, and his broken heart seemed to be on the verge of healing. However, it takes a long time to charge for a single shot, and the island is also a truly small island, and the Hades is not yet in Alabastion. Robin finally kicked his cracked heart to pieces and added a little cumin to it. Clockdale's face turned green and white, and he remained silent for a long time before finally biting out a few words from his teeth. Damn it, unlucky thing. Outside the screen. Looking at the information leaked from the screen, the chat group suddenly became boiling. Everyone is discussing the exposed ancient weapons. It should be noted that any news about ancient weapons in the past has been tightly covered by the world government. It is impossible to obtain any information without identifying one's identity or status. Nowadays, everyone knows that one of the three ancient weapons, the Underworld King, is an ancient warship that can destroy a small island with just one strike, so the chat group is extremely active at this time. But after satisfying their curiosity, most people only have two words in their hearts. Is that all? Is the Underworld King, one of the three magnificent ancient weapons, here? Yes, a warship that can destroy a small island with just one strike is indeed very strong, but it is not strong enough to match its three ancient weapons, which are infamous and famous. Not to mention the Whitebeard, who is known as the strongest man in the world. His name as a man who can move natural disasters and destroy the world is not something he boasted about. When he experiences a sea tremor, a sea area trembles and collapses, and a small island is nothing. Let's talk about another flying commander, the Golden Lion Shurji. He attacks every time on an island, and his own headquarters is surrounded by more than 20 islands at any time. He can perform like a dumpling for you, let alone just one island. So, in the eyes of those top monsters in the sea, destroying a small island is not really a groundbreaking event. The rumored ancient weapon only has this power, which will certainly disappoint them. Of course, before today, although they may be disappointed, they will not say words like, "It's just a bit powerful, but not much that can destroy a small island." But who allowed the Dark King to appear behind the Shurima Empire? After witnessing the military power of Shurima's rule over the world, they truly felt that this power was not enough to see. Especially Clockter, he can understand his impatience in the video very well. If I hadn't seen the light, I could have endured the darkness. Having seen the power of the Shurima heavenly god warrior, how could he still look up to the Underworld King who is just a ship? Not to mention the self in the video, even the self who is watching the live broadcast now wishes to immediately carry out the ascent ceremony and become a noble ascent. Clockdale's eyes lit up, not without a chance. Shurima did not explicitly state that they were destroyed, and no one knows what exactly happened to them. What if they were not destroyed? What if the ascent ceremony is still preserved? Would that be within the territory of Alabastion? If it could be found, wouldn't I still have a chance? As long as I can understand this point in the video, he is most likely to succeed. However, in reality, all forces have not yet reached Alabastion, and they are beyond their reach. As long as I find the ascension ceremony in the video, I can arrive as soon as possible. As a heavenly god warrior, I will be unparalleled. Clockdale's eyes sparkled with excitement, the me in the video. You must seize the opportunity. The chaos in the live broadcast room has nothing to do with King Cobra of Alabastion, who is currently in a state of mental confusion. As the 12th king of Alabastion, Kubula was aware that there was a historical stone tablet hidden in his royal funeral hall, but he never imagined that it recorded such a magnificent history. Isn't it agreed that the main text of one's own family history only records the whereabouts of the underworld king? Why is it different? Did our ancestors even deceive us descendants? This is impossible, so there is only one explanation. The Shurima Empire originated in this desert and established a super-empire that almost ruled the world. Alabastan, a new country established by the tribes of this desert hundreds of years later on the remains of the Shrema Empire. Kubula's mind is now filled with these two sentences. What is the relationship between them? Because the Shrema Empire is a desert country, and Alabastan is a desert country. So the Shrema Empire equals Alabastan. Let's see if this makes it clear at a glance that we, Alabastan, are definitely descendants of the Shrema Empire. Our ancestors did not tell us that we were afraid that the enemies of the former Shrema would retaliate against our new Shrema. Using historical texts to record our Shrema history is definitely a reminder to future generations not to forget the glory of the former empire. Kubula's waist suddenly straightened, and his national confidence expanded unprecedentedly. Who has never been more prosperous? My ancestors were the Shurima people who ruled the seas within the Sea of Wiga. Have I ever said this before? Have I ever been proud? I originally wanted to get along with you as an ordinary king, but what I didn't expect was estrangement. I'm not pretending anymore, I'll have a showdown. I'm the Emperor N generation. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. The World Government, Don't Come, I'm Afraid of Shurui. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nefertari Cobra. Hahaha, I'm sorry everyone, but the Empire of Parma has always been a peaceful country. I apologize to everyone for conquering the world, Nefertari Cobra. Especially for the Shampoo Islands and the Fishman Island at Shampoo Island Consul at Nipton, I apologize for the Raymar Empire on our behalf. Haha. I apologize to you. To this day, we forgive the Raymar people. Haha. We have deeply reviewed and will never commit such war crimes again, Rocks. Pirate King Roger. Beast Kai Duo. Golden Lion Shurji. Do you know how to do it? Charlotte Lingling. Nefertari Vivi. Neptune. Rocks. Are you going crazy here? Did your brain get drained by Clockdale? Are you still apologizing for the Shrema Empire? How big is your face? Can you represent the Shrema Empire? Pirate King Roger. Your Majesty Cobra, I cannot understand where your words come from. Beast Kai Duo. Oh, Lingling, have you finally woken up? Charlotte Lingling. I heard there's a clown performance here, so I came over to take a look. Do you think Joker is you, Duo Flamenco? Domingo. 6, Beast Kai Duo. Hahaha, it's not Joker, but this clown's performance is much better than Joker's. Doflamingo's face turned as black as a pot. Kaido and Auntie, these two bastards, made fun of him. Don Quixote's family, who knows, sometimes they really want to report to the police when they go online alone. Kubula looked at the chat group full of questioning words and felt a bit anxious. He quickly posted his analysis in the chat group and added another sentence at the end. Nefertari Cobra. Once again, I would like to reiterate that Alabastan and our Shrema Empire have been inseparable from ancient times to the present day. We always remember the sacred glory of our ancestors, and the great sun of Shrema will forever shine on her people. Rocks. 6, Domingo. 6, Beast Kai Duo. 6, Charlotte Lingling. 6, Pirate King Roger. 6, Golden Lion Chronicles. 6, Warring States Period. 6, Carp. 6, this kind of shameless spirit was left speechless to the big shots in the Navy. Their group of think tanks came together and came up with a conclusion similar to that of Cobra. Although it was only a conclusion, the staff of the Navy headquarters immediately thought of this possibility during the video broadcast, and the details were more detailed. But inference is ultimately just inference, without concrete evidence. No one dares to say that this must be the truth of the matter. I didn't expect Kubula to climb up the pole directly, and as the ruler of a country, he didn't even want his face anymore. It didn't matter much, so he started shouting at us, the Shurima Empire, one by one. Kubula said, "Why wait for such amazing relatives to hold on to their thighs? Descendants of the founding 20th king of the world government. Anyway, you didn't treat us like Tianlong people either. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with you. Nefertari Vivi. Father, this is too embarrassing." Vivi blushed and covered her face, feeling a bit embarrassed. She didn't expect her father's psychological resilience to be so good, with such thick skin, and he didn't even care about the ridicule from so many people. Her father's actions were considered classic, and she immediately lost face and threw them all over the world. Just like a chubby little guy from another world who brought his talent to the pig house, it doesn't matter if he doesn't have a championship, inherit it. Inherit fiercely. Anyway, I'm here, so we are. Champion. As Cobra said at this moment, I have inherited the Shrema Empire, so the honor of Shrema is equal to my honor. Is there a cat pie? No cat cakes. Albert was delighted with Cobra's actions, and he thought about the plot he had arranged for Alabastian in the video, as well as the identity he had arranged for Vivi. It seemed that Cobra had no problem saying so. At this thought, his eyes rolled and the corner of his mouth slightly raised, as if he had thought of something fun, he said in the chat group at Cobra. Albert. At Nefertari Cobra, Uncle, I support you. The Empire of Shrema will surely become great again in your hands, and you will definitely become the revived ruler of the country. Vivi turned her head to look at him, with a puzzled expression in her eyes. She didn't understand why he was saying this to her father. Was it just to flatter her father? But the Albert she knew was definitely not this kind of person. Albert rubbed Vivi's soft little head and said in a slightly quirky tone, "Uncle must be able to do this." Then he added to his heart, albeit not in the way you think. On the other hand, Cobra was overjoyed by Albert's words, and he quickly responded to him. Nefertari Cobra. Good child, you're right. I will definitely revive the Shurima Empire in my hands, but child, you call me uncle, I don't know who you are. Albert. Hello uncle, I am Vivi's boyfriend. Kubula was stunned by Lei on the spot, and this simple greeting automatically translated into, "Hey Lao Deng, your daughter was soaked by me." At this moment, when he looked at Albert again, he no longer had the warmth he had just had, only the irritability as an old father towards the yellow-haired ghost fire boy that was not pleasing to the eye. Even if I had just felt extremely passionate, now I feel like this stinky kid is deliberately flattering me. Although he wanted to curse, considering Vivi's face and the fact that this stinky guy had helped him speak, he suppressed his anger and forced out a smile to perfunctory Albert. Nefertari Cobra. Yes. Really. Hee. It's pretty good. Albert. Yes, Vivi often says that you raised her alone, but she couldn't take care of you by your side. This makes her feel guilty and often tears down her face, crying and telling me to be filial to you in the future. Nefertari Cobra. Sigh. This child is just too sensible. Parents don't need their children's repay. As long as you can take care of yourself, you can't cry often. How can your body handle it? You too, why don't you advise Vivi when you're by her side? Albert. I can't persuade you. Vivi is such a beautiful and gentle person, and I can't bear to make her sad at all. But she loves you too much. As you just said, she is too sensible. Being sensible makes me feel heartbroken. I have never seen such a perfect and beautiful girl before. Albert's lips curled up with a smug smile, get it done. In just a few words, he made his future father-in-law's attitude towards him greatly change. From the initial hostility to now, he has started chatting with him heart to heart about some family matters. Perhaps for a daughter slave, no matter how much you flatter him, he may not be much happy. After all, if you steal his daughter, to him, all these words you say are likely to be a rainbow fart. But if you praise his daughter, it's different. Congratulations, you found the topic that suits him the most. Gradually, he will no longer speak cold words or frown at you, and even give you some help in the end. He will teach you like a son and hope that you will become a successful person. Because he knows that his daughter has already chosen you, and it will be you who will live with her in the future, so he can only be kind to you in order to pray that you will treat his daughter better. In reality, Vivi watched as the conversation between her husband and son-in-law in the chat group became increasingly harmonious. She was puzzled and asked Albert. "Dear, I know my father's temper the best. Sometimes he's stubborn like a cow. How did you make his attitude change so much? He just loves you too much." Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Partners are not to abandon or give up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The interlude between Albert and Cobra in the chat group was quickly skipped by everyone, and the topic quickly shifted to another direction. Many thoughtful people have noticed some places in the video that have been touched by a stroke. Pirate King Roger. What exactly happened to Shurima, and why did such a powerful country disappear overnight? Warring States period. Last Emperor Azir. If according to historical texts, such a revived ruler who could lead Shurima's rapid revival must have outstanding foresight, then he would definitely not let his country fall into a crisis of collapse, and there must have been some sudden changes in it. Zifa. Cap. What are you talking about, old kid? If there's any trouble with Rima, why do you say that? Yellow Ape. Yo, a warring state saying I really listen to your words, it's like listening to your words, Zifa. Speak less in the official tone of the warring states period. I'm used to speaking in meetings and still use this way of speaking here. I've heard it so hard. Warring States period. Old man. I am helping you sort out the information in the video, a group of brainless fools. And the Navy Chief of Staff Crane, who did not get involved in their conversation, kept his gaze fixed on the QA question in the sky. What did the Straw Hat team find in the funeral hall of the Alabastian royal family? She furrowed her brow and kept thinking about something in her mind, but after thinking for a while, she couldn't figure it out and had to seek answers in the chat group. Crane. At Nefertari Cobra, Your Majesty Cobra, are the burial ceremonies of your royal family in Alabastan separate? What I mean is that your royal family has many funeral halls. Nefertari Cobra. Ah. I don't understand why you're asking, but our royal family only has one funeral hall. The Crane's eyebrows furrowed even tighter. Crane. Is the palace complex in the video the full size of the funeral hall? Nefertari Cobra. I also paid special attention to the beginning of the video just now. Yes, this is the full size of our royal funeral hall. Warring States period. Xiaoyu, did you find anything? Crane. If you look back at the problem, there hasn't been any grandson of Kappa yet. And just now when I asked His Majesty Cobra, he also said that this is all of the royal funeral hall, which means. Nicole Robin. The royal funeral hall still hides secrets that we haven't discovered. Robin's eyes lit up, and she quickly thought of this. She had been immersed in the excitement of discovering the history of Shrema before, so she didn't remember it for a moment. Instinctively, she thought that the royal tomb of Shrema was the funeral hall, and the history of Shrema recorded in this historical text is even more powerful evidence. But now, under the guidance of the Crane, she also realized it. Not only Robin, but everyone in the chat group also realized it. Yeah, where's the Straw Hat Kid? The obvious directional clues in the QA have not yet appeared, so there must be a secret in this funeral hall that we have not discovered. And just as I was thinking about it, the screen lit up again. The live video continues to play. As the screen turned, the illuminated area was no longer the dim and silent funeral hall, but a desert hinterland with bright daylight. A group of people walked in the sand and wind, their surroundings twisted by the scorching heat. The howling wind and sand blew past, and waves of death mixed with gravel made their cheeks ache. As the screen zooms in, these people are all dressed in traditional Alabastian gauze clothing, walking through the desert with deep and light feet against the wind and sand. The leading black-haired man turns his head to look at his tired companions behind him, and even watches as the reindeer among them has fainted from heat due to its fur, being carried on the back by a yellow duck. His face involuntarily shows a worried expression. He slowly spoke to a blue-haired woman with a veil over her face and said, "Vivi, this won't work. Luffy and the others haven't drunk water for too long, and their stamina is severely depleted. If this continues, they will die of thirst in this desert." Then it seemed like something was on his mind, and the man's expression became a bit more serious before he spoke again, and along the way, the cities passed by were empty, and the people followed the rebel army to the capital Albana. "I'm worried that they might launch an attack on Albana ahead of time. If this continues, we won't be able to catch up." Upon hearing these words, Vivi's eyes quickly showed an anxious expression. She was not unaware of this, but had been deceiving herself and forcing herself not to think about these issues before. Now that Albert had pointed them out, it was because these issues had reached an urgent and unavoidable point where she could no longer escape. But when she turned her head and saw this group of friends who had reached their limits, the words she wanted to say seemed to be stuck in her throat, opening her mouth but unable to say anything. Seeing Vivi's entanglement, Nami-chan in the crowd propped up her spirits and reluctantly spoke up, "Vivi, you guys go ahead and stop the rebellion of Alabastian. Let's take a break and we'll catch up soon." The green algae-headed swordsman holding 3 swords also held the same opinion. He looked up at Vivi, although his tone was cold, his words were heartwarming. "You are the princess of this country, and you have an obligation to protect the people of this country. There is no need to waste time on us pirates. Go." The boy wearing a straw hat no longer had a heartless smile. The excessive loss of moisture made him look a bit wilted, but he, who was usually full of nerves, seemed to understand what Vivi was struggling with. With a smile, he gave Vivi a thumbs up and said, "Damn it, Vivi, I'm a man who wants to become the One Piece King. I won't just fall down like this." Nami raised her hand and punched the young man's head. The usually powerful punch was only a weak one now, but she was still the same Nami. Even though she was extremely weak now, she still roared fiercely, "It's not just because you're such a fool that you've lost all our supplies." Vivi looked at the crowd in front of her, her mind flashing with the adventures along the way and the people who risked sending her back to Alabastian. She bit her lips as if she had made up her mind, and a hint of determination flashed through her eyes. She turned her head to Albert and said, "Albert, can you go first? Please ride the canoe to Albana first, and we'll be there soon." Everyone behind them was surprised, and they all looked at Vivi in surprise. "Vivi, you." Vivi turned her head and showed a bright smile. "We're partners, aren't we? Partners just don't give up, don't give up." Then she turned her head to Albert and pleaded, "Please Albert, we must stop the rebel army. I can only rely on you for the fate of this country." Albert gave her a deep glance and suddenly smiled as he embraced her, lightly kissing her on the forehead and saying, "Don't worry. It's up to me." After speaking, he handed the joba on Karu's body to Nami, turned around and rode Karu towards the capital Albana, completely devoid of dust. Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10 Albert. Everyone came to pry into my corner. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the chat group. Everyone appreciates Vivi's character, but there is also some heartache for this weak girl who shoulders the fate of the country. At this moment, many people are discussing this newly emerged scene. Straw Hat Boy Luffy. Ah Vivi, I'm so touched. I announce that you are my best friend. Nami. Luffy, it's because of you idiot again. Previously, you tampered with the rudder and caused us to return late. Now it seems that you have lost our supplies in the desert again, Captain Idiot. Touch. Head smashing sound, Straw Hat Boy Luffy. I'm sorry, Nami. Tears streaming down her face, Nami. Apologize well to Vivi, you bastard. Straw Hat Boy Luffy. Sorry about Vivi, with a blue nose and swollen face, Nami. Vivi is really sorry. I was sick before and it caused you to delay your trip, but now it's like this again. Nefertari Vivi. It's okay, Nami. As mentioned in the video, we're partners. You sent me back to Alabastion all the way and didn't leave me behind. I'm really grateful to you all. Crane. Your Majesty Cobra, you have a good daughter, and Alabastion also has a good princess. Warring States period. It was our Navy's dereliction of duty to cause such pain to Alabastion. On behalf of the Navy, I once again apologize to Princess Vivi and the people of Alabastion. For governments around the world, the Marshal of the Navy publicly apologizes for such actions that damage the credibility of the Navy. They will never let the Warring States do it, but now the video has exposed the truth about the internal turmoil in Abastan. The Navy's inaction is already a fact before the people of the world. It is really hard for the Warring States to just vague and perfunctory pass it on. So even if he violated the orders of the world government, he apologized to Alabastion in the chat group, and this was actually the case. In addition, he had already sent Cap to Alabastion, so it was better to pretend to be dead and make up for it actively after making a mistake. The open and honest apology may even save another wave of falling reputation. Nefertari Cobra. Vivi, father is very proud to have a daughter like you. Nipton. Hurry up and pull it down. If it weren't for you being a useless father, how could a little girl live so hard? Putting the burden of a country on your own shoulders, I, as an outsider, feel heartbroken. Nipton. As a father, I despise you, nose picking. JPG, Nipton, who also has a daughter, can be said to have a full capacity for empathy compared to others. With empathy, he instinctively brought his daughter, Bai Xing, into it. The thought of Bai Xing suffering such hardship made his heart ache. But others envy Cobra for having such a good daughter, and even more so, they have started to find ways to grab her. White beard. What a good child. I have had many sons in my life, and now I realize that there seems to be a missing caring daughter on the ship. White beard. I'll tell you why my husband's illness always doesn't improve. A group of stinky kids, how can they compare to a little cotton jacket that knows both cold and hot? So, Vivi, do you want to be my daughter? Marco. Dad, there's no need to belittle us like this. But I really want such a little sister too. Ace. Do I need to have another sister? Sure enough, my younger brother is just not easy to worry about, so it's better to have a younger sister. Looking forward to Vivi's sister joining the big family of the Whitebeard Pirates, welcome /sprinkle flowers. JPG, Joyce. Welcome /sprinkle flowers. JPG +1, Bista. Welcome /scattering flowers. JPG +2, unimportant Whitebeard Pirate Crew. Welcome /scatter flowers. JPG +10086, Guanyue Yutian. Hahaha Whitebeard, Vivi is the princess of Alabastion, maybe even the princess of Shurima. How could she go on your ship to become a pirate with you? Whitebeard. Oda, you guy. Kazuki Oda. But thank you for opening up another way for me. At Nefertari Vivi, that Vivi, how about being my daughter? In law. Light Moon Peach's help. Father, I like this beautiful big sister / bright eyes. JPG, Guangyue Yuda. Son, Dad will definitely help you fight for it. Kazuki Oda. At Nefertari Vivi, what do you think about that Albert? He's not as tall as my son, and he's not as handsome as my son. Vivi, should you consider abandoning him and being with my son? My son is the future general of the Kingdom of Peace. You too, Princess Alabastion and General of the Kingdom of Peace, are a perfect match. It's a perfect match. On the other hand, he has nothing. When young people come out to work, they need to pay attention to their family background. I hope this young person understands something, Vivi. You can't control it. Guangyue sure. Darling, it's not right for you to lie. Taoji helped him. He's not as good looking as this young man, muttering softly, if I hadn't gotten married, I would have wanted to pursue him, and Taoji was only 8 years old. Oh my, don't be so brainless. Emotions need to be nurtured from a young age, and our family's Taojiju is not bad. The two children will definitely fall in love with each other after spending a long time together. Kazuki Yuda. Besides, if we calculate the actual age of our Tazizu normally, it's not too young. It's just a good match. If we don't catch such an excellent daughter in law soon, she will become someone else's, so please don't worry and listen to me. Kapu. Are you talking about background? Who has a harder background than our Luffy family? Vivi, I think you have a good relationship with our Luffy family. Would you considering our Luffy family? Hee. Luffy. Ah. Grandpa, what are you talking about? You're old and confused, I just want to become the One Piece King. Carp. You unfilial grandson, stop talking. When I was your age, dragons would have done push-ups. Even when dragons were your age, they got married. But look at you, you still don't even have a girlfriend. Kapu. Other grandsons are grandsons. Why is your grandson like this? If I don't take care of you again, it's just like you. I'm afraid our Munch family will end up with you. Dragon. Albert. You disrespectful old folks, why are your faces so big? Get out of here. Albert's face turned pale, and everyone wanted to pry into the corner of his wall, especially the jerk Mitsukawa Oda, who was so angry that his mind went blank. Tao Jiju is right, General of Heji Kingdom is right. You see how I arranged for you, and then let the world see how you have a strong background. Oh yes, and there's no one who wants to run away. If I don't arrange for you, he will definitely jump into the sea and commit suicide now. He won't stop until he spreads his name as your foolish highness to the world. He must make everyone around the world see how stupid a person really is. Nefertari Vivi. Thank you for the kindness of all the predecessors. Vivi is sincere and fearful, but I will always be the daughter of my father, and I will only have this father. Nefertari Vivi. As for her future partner, Vivi has already made up her mind. Albert is someone who can be entrusted for life, and I feel very happy with him. I hope you don't say anything to hurt him or ruin our relationship. If you really love Vivi, then bless us. Carp. Hey. Luffy missed a good child. Kazuki Oda. Hey. Alright, at Albert, you're really lucky. White beard. Kurala Lala, it's okay. Even if you don't recognize me as a dad, I still treat you as my daughter. At Albert, if you dare to hurt Vivi and make her sad, I won't let you go. Albert. Of course it is. You don't have to say I won't make Vivi sad. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.